boy, give me that apple. And boy, anytime that my pops would say this, I would hear the exact same thing over and over again as a kid. And if you have a pops like this, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. He would say, boy, give me that apple. And I would give him the apple. And then he would say, he would break it open, like take a bite of it or whatever it was. Show me the inside. There would be a seed. He would ask me, how many seeds are in this apple, boy? And I would look at it and I'd be like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10, Pop. And then he would grab one of the seeds and he would say, how many apples are in a seed? And I would hear this over and over again, and sometimes it would frustrate me. But in a society and in a culture where likes and comments and views and, sometimes stats or results, they're everywhere. A lot of times we can start to add the value or attach the value of ourselves to one of those stats, whether it be how many deals we closed today, how many likes we got, views, all these things. And I got a chance to be able to talk with my buddy, James Dixon, the other day. And we were talking and he said that kingdom math is different. And then he recited back to me something that I had heard my pop say over and over again. He said, James said to me, he said, Kelly, there's only a finite amount of seeds in an apple, but there's an infinite amount of seeds or apples in the seed. And he said, kingdom math is different. God is not setting a stats against it. He's not comparing us against stats. What he's doing is looking from a completely different perspective. And when we start using kingdom math, it doesn't make sense to the world, but it starts to make sense in every other area of our lives. So in Proverbs 10, it comforts us by letting us know that the kingdom math won't ever make sense to the world. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
We've got a couple of things on the way. The first one is going to be the Vibe Experience, and that is actually going to be in Salt Lake City. It's going to be April 11th. We haven't released tickets yet, but generally with these events, before we even release tickets, then they're going to be gone. So be checking the website for that and checking social, or if you're listening on Apple or Spotify or YouTube, I want to thank you guys. Make sure you comment, subscribe, share it to all your friends, but be checking the links there too. There's another one, too, that we're actually doing. We started our Substack, which would be great. And what we're going to be doing is for the next little bit, and this is going to be the first time that anyone's going to hear about it, is we are going to be taking and the first 10 people that subscribe to our to my Substack, we're actually going to be giving you a ticket to the Vibe Experience, which is a full day. You're going to have Coach Keith Hale, you're going to have Baron Baptiste, myself, and then it's going to culminate that later on that night with a Vibe Room. So you're going to get all of that for if you're one of the first 10 that subscribes to our Substack. So I just wanted to thank you guys so much for being here. If this is the first time tuning in, also, this is an episode of Inchstones. We have 3 different episodes or 3 different shows on the podcast. The first one is the interviews, where I interview some of the most iconic people in the world, and we've got some bangers coming. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but for me, I'm going after every single person, for me, that is iconic in my life and iconic to my kids. And then they all give advice to my kids by name, because I don't want my kids to worship idols. I just want them to be inspired by iconic people, like the people I get to bring on the podcast, which is amazing. That's one of the shows. And then we've also got the show called You Have to Meet My Friends, where I go live and I call my friends randomly. And this one's hilarious because it's a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get. And we also have Inchstones, which is a commentary about 15 to 20 minutes. We go through the book of Proverbs. I generally use the corresponding proverb, corresponding day, but any proverb in the morning is great. It's about, anywhere from 18 to 35 verses, takes about 5 minutes to read, but it's amazing the wisdom that comes out of that. And then we apply that and how it can apply in today's society, that this 3,000-year-old tested foundational wisdom, principle-based, how it can help the circumstances of today. So that's where we're at right now. And so I want to go back for a second because my buddy James, when we got a chance to talk the other day, we were looking at a couple of different stats, and I was asking him about them. I said, what do you think about this and that based off the stats that I'm seeing? He said that kingdom math is different. And so I want to encourage all of you that when God has you to do something, as opposed to you doing it. That's the difference. So make sure that that's the caveat. But when God has you to do something, his math is going to be completely different. And so he's not looking at the finished product. Like he's just not looking at, hey, here's the apple, like we were talking about earlier. God is looking at how many seeds you plant. And honestly, one orchard could come from, a full orchard could come from one seed. And so, he was as James was telling me, and I'm going to kill it. He was saying it so much better because he's one of the most amazing speakers that I've ever been around. But what he was talking about is he said, a seed when it drops, say an acorn drops, the wind makes it travel to a certain place and then it sprouts. And we never know the seeds that we're planting. We never know how much they're going to be able to grow, nor will we ever know. But see, kingdom math is different with God because God is just trying to say to each and every one of us, I'm not worried about the end product. I'm worried about what you're doing right now and doing exactly what I have you to do. And he will bring the increase. And so in Proverbs 10, it actually asked a lot of questions. And this was massive because we spent time with our men's group the other day. And I just asked these questions as far as any time that, I don't know if you guys have ever got down before because you don't feel that you're performing in a certain area, whether it be your personal, your professional, your spiritual, your financial. And most of the time we put it against stats. The stats of the world would say, okay, in this quarter, what did we do? Now, in business, obviously, you need to hit a profit margin or you need to hit your goals and things like that. But what's incredible is God will help those to come into play and all the rest when we focus on him. But his math, again, is going to be different. So these questions hit me really hard. So let's jump right into them. So in verse 1, it asked, are you bringing joy? So in kingdom math, are you bringing joy? What joy is the ability to fall in love with your current circumstances to allow magic to happen. It's not about changing your circumstances. It's just about falling in love with them. But are you bringing joy to other people? And the way that you bring joy to other people is by being peaceful. How can we be peaceful? Is by knowing that God has exactly what we need, and he's going to bring it at the exact right time. And when we know that, we'll be peaceful, and that peace will produce joy. Are you producing joy when you come into a room, when you come into an environment? And that's something that God wants to or was asking this morning as we went through. So as I looked at it, in verse 2, 16, and 23, are you doing right work? And this was a tough one for me to answer. Every one of these, as I looked at it, are you bringing joy? So I had to ask myself, am I bringing joy? When I come into a room, am I leaving the environment better than the way I found it? In verse 2, 16, and 23, it asked, are you doing right work? And right work is diligence. Diligence is right work. How do we know what that right work is? Well, God will give you the exact thing to do at the exact right time. So it's not just about doing the routine. So, see, because a lot of times we get caught up in that. We do a routine. That routine becomes a ritual. That ritual becomes a religion. And then we worship the religion as opposed to looking at it and saying, I need to have a relationship with this day, with this moment, and know exactly what I need to do at this time, not what I did yesterday that worked out. And so the only way that we'll know that is by spending time with him. And so he's constantly just bringing us back to him. In verse number 3, the question was, are you serving with your gifts? And this one's a hard one because I don't believe that I am all the time. And, each one of us has gifts. I believe that every one of you has a gift. You have a gift right now. Some of you is just a gift of praise. Like in the last couple of days, I've been given that gift. And I know how to speak life into people. And so in the last couple of days with our football practice, I get a chance I'm the head coach of our football team, our flag football team this winter, and I'm very excited about it. And I literally just called a bunch of the dads afterwards, and I just congratulated them on how great of a job they're doing with their sons. But I gave them specific things that their sons were doing, and I wanted the sons to know that I'm proud of them. And these are things, that's a gift, and I would just want to give it away. Are you giving away, and are you serving with your gifts? Are we serving at the highest level with them? Is there a way that you can serve more, right? And give those gifts away? In verse 4, 26 and 26 is, are you lazy with your gifts or are you diligent? And it goes right in line with these things. There's sometimes where I'm lazy with my gifts, where, I think, oh, it's no big deal. I don't think that it'll make that much of a difference, but it does. Your gift makes a difference. And what your gift is, and the way to identify it, is just something that you're good at innately that you don't really have to work at. And what is that? Ask yourself that today. What can I do that I don't even have to work at, that just comes natural to me, and then go give that to every single person around you and watch all the blessings happen, because our gifts are not meant for us. They're meant for other people. And that's when the paradigm starts to shift, because I used to think that, my gifts, I need to take advantage of them for myself. Well, no, your gifts are meant to be given away. And when that happens, then you bless all the people around you. In verse 5, what types of seed are you planting, and are you faithful with it? This one's a great one, because honestly, like the greatest amount of seeds that you could ever plant are futile if they're the wrong type of seed, or if they're a poor quality of seed. So what type of seeds are you planting, and are you faithful with it? Do you only plant in certain seasons? Therefore, there's always only going to be a harvest in one season. But what my pops taught me is, even in the greatest times, when you do the greatest things, still be planting seeds. And then that way you'll have a harvest all year round. It'll be different crops, but it'll be constant planting over and over again. And this one was massive, because this is in verse 6, verse 8, verse 11, verse 13, verse 18, verse 19, 20, 21, 31, and 32. So I guess that it's very, very, very important. And you hear me say this, you've heard me say this about Proverbs, but it's speaking life. Is there someone right now that you can stop the recording and you can text somebody, call somebody, email somebody, or just FaceTime them, whatever it is, and speak some life? Use their name. Say something specific that they did that inspired you. I got a text from my buddy Dave yesterday, and he just said, "You are the mountain." And he sent me a song that was called "You Are the Mountain." And I listened to the song, listened to the lyrics, and then that message, it was so personal to me. Make sure the message is personal, and encourage somebody today. Speak life into them. Are you speaking life? Do you do this on a day-to-day basis? And if you don't, do it and then track the results. You'll be amazed at what will happen. In verse 7, this question was weird, is how is your name? I never heard it this way. How is your name? And so when you look at it, like, how is your name talked about? How is your name revered? How is your name respected? What type of name do you have? How is that taken when somebody hears your name? And this question was like, oh man, I had to sit in it for a little bit. And then I had to ask myself, break it down personally, professionally, spiritually, financially. Think about it in my business. Think about it in my relationships, in my friendships, and in my interactions. How's my name? Right? And the next question was in verse 9 and 10 is, are you walking in integrity? And so when I had to ask this, like, first of all, I got to define what integrity is. It's being the same in the dark as you are in the light. So it's pretty simple, right? So being the same as you are in the dark as you are in the light, saying the same things behind someone's back as you do in front of their face, right? And so, am I walking in integrity? My answer was sometimes, not all the time. But the reason why God was asking this is because his kingdom math is different. See, he's not asking you, how did you do today as far as your performance with your work? How many things did you do today? How many chores did you get done? No. His math is different. And he wants us to understand that when we ask ourselves these questions that he's asking today, when we ask them every single day, or we ask them every single week or every single month, whichever one you want to do, depending on the type of results that you want. Some people ask me like, oh, should I read Proverbs once a year? Okay, absolutely. That'd be awesome. Should I read it monthly? Should I read it weekly? Should I read it daily? It's up to you based off the result that you want, right? And so in verse 12 is, are you an example of love? And this one came from Pastor Randy Remington. I got to hear him speak, and he was saying that, you'll always know that it's a work of God because it's love. And this is a tough one, because most of the time people don't associate, like if they talk about God or they talk about like, a certain belief system, whatever it is, a lot of times the connotation isn't love. Well, I can tell you then that's an absence of God. And so the question was, are you an example of love in all that you do, personally, professionally, spiritually, financially, right? In your business, in your relationships, in your friendships, and in your interactions? Are you an example of love? And are you exemplifying that today? And when that happens, what'll happen is that you'll have the tendency to be more peaceful. And then guess what'll happen? You'll have more joy in your life, which is the ability to fall in love with your current circumstances and watch all that magic happen. And you'll do that for others too. In verse 14, are you storing up knowledge? And so are you taking time to store up knowledge? Well, there's no reason to store up knowledge if you don't have wisdom. Wisdom, the beginning of it is the fear of God. So the fear of God is just spending time with him. So if you spend time with God, he'll give you the right use of knowledge, which is wisdom. And then you go and you store up knowledge. But the question was, are you storing up knowledge? And then the follow-up question in that is, where are you getting it? Where are you getting your knowledge? And this was an incredible one, because my buddy Will, like he knows so many facts. It's crazy. Like this dude reads more than anybody that I've ever known in my life. We would be walking at the beach and he would see a bird and he would tell me the species of the bird, how it ate, how it flocked, all the different mannerisms of this. And he's like, because his mom worked in a bookstore. And so his knowledge came from those books. Are you storing up knowledge? In verse 15, are you trusting in silly things that have no value? It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's a telling question. In verse 17, rate your discipline, personal, professional, spiritual, and financial. Wasn't a question, but it was a call to action. And honestly, I wanted to dodge this one. So all these questions too will be in the Substack and the great thing with our Substack is a little bit different because it's actually written in my own handwriting. So you're going to see, the imperfections of the handwriting, but that's what we're doing with our Substack. And again, the first 10 people that subscribe are going to get a ticket to the Vibe experience, which will be a full day of interaction and then a night of the Vibe Room, which is going to be unreal in Salt Lake City. In verse 22, are you trying or are you letting? This was a big thing with my pops. He would always ask me this: are you trying or are you letting? Are you trying to force things into being, or are you allowing God, are you letting God have his purpose, his plan, his timing in your life? And is that producing the blessing? And so the blessing is going to come, but we got to realize that it's going to be his purpose, his plan, and his timing. That's a hard one for me to deal with. And in verse 24, are you driven by dread or desire? I have so many kids, especially, younger kids that I've worked with in the past that'll tell me like, all you have to do is tell me I can't do something and I'll show you. Are you working off of, are you driven by dread? Oh my gosh, I hope this never happens. Therefore, I'm going to run as hard as I can to stay as far away from it as possible. Or are you driven by desire? Desire, the author and finisher of that is God. So when we spend time with him, he'll give you the desires of your heart, and then he'll be the author of it, and then he'll be the finisher of it. And then you have to give him credit. And when you talk about things, then you'll have to talk about him. That's ultimately what he wants anyway. So in verse 25 and 30, are you building on a firm foundation? Just ask yourself, the lowest load-bearing structure in your life, are you building on a firm one? And just ask yourself that when we're building it on wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge, and the only place we could get that is from spending time with him. I think that we're building on a firm foundation. So I would invite you to do that. And that's why Proverbs works so well. In verse 27, do you respect God? The honest question, or the honest answer in this is sometimes, not all the time, because there's times where I work outside of what his will is, and sometimes I don't listen, and so I just the asking, like, do you respect God, and then I just put a rating on it, like 1 to 10, and just walk around with that question in your pocket, and when you make a decision, rate it like on 1 to 10. In verse 28, do you bring joy? That's the art of falling in love with your current circumstances and allowing magic to happen. So are you falling in love? If you really bring joy into other people's lives, you'll have it in your own life, and you'll find that your attitude will be on a completely different level. We found this in our company. I found this in the professional side when I was building people and then allowing people to build a business. When you have joy, the art of falling in love with your current circumstances, allowing magic to happen, then it was okay that you screwed up because it became your next procedure, because your rules and regulations are nothing more than a list of your screw-ups. So when we listed those out, it was almost like when you have joy in your heart, you can get excited about screwing up or excited about something going wrong because now you just found out what not to do the next time. In verse 29, as we finish up, is what percentage do you depend on God? And see, with kingdom math is going to be completely different. And what God is saying is like, I want you to completely depend on me. Depending on how much you depend on me, then you're going to start to see different types of blessings in your life. And so he was asking, like, what percentage do you depend on me and or depend on God? And when that was asked, I was like, it depends. That depends on the circumstance, the situation. A lot of times financially, I want to depend on myself. A lot of times in business, I want to depend on myself. When I have a tragedy, what do? I drop to my knees and I start praying because I can't do anything else, so I could just depend on that. God says, I want you to depend on me in everything 100%. Now, are we all going to get there? I don't know. But I can tell you this, his math is different. Kingdom math is different. He's not looking at the apple. He's looking at the seed, and he already knows how many apples are in that seed. So figure out which seed you want to focus on. And how will we do that? By just spending time with him, because he'll give us the right use of knowledge, which is wisdom. And then that wisdom we can go get knowledge. That knowledge will bring understanding. Understanding will bring insight. Insight will bring discretion. Discretion will bring discipline. Discipline will bring strength, and it'll lead us right back to the fear of God or spending time with him, which will bring us more wisdom, and it stays in that circle. So as we finish up, according to kingdom math, watch this, joy equals love, and then love conquers all. Now, some people could say like, love conquers all. Oh, it sounds so fluffy. It's not really going to apply in real life. And if you go down, you review the questions, go back to the recording and you review those questions. No, God is saying love will conquer all. If it is love, if it is of me, it's love. And see, joy is falling in love with your current circumstances and allowing magic to happen. And when joy is present, love will be there, and love conquers all. Kingdom math is completely different. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in to another episode of Inchstones. Jimmy Barbour, we went 3 minutes over in 13 seconds. I apologize about that. I love you guys so much. Make sure you check out the Substack. It's in the link. And the first 10 people, we're going to be rewarding them with the Vibe Experience ticket, and that'll get you to the next Vibe Room also. So hopefully you have a phenomenal day. Check out all of the episodes. There's a playlist on Spotify too with Inchstones. And my name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just